Are you searching for personal development, motivation, self-help, success? Michael Wickett. Well, you've come to the right place. Hang on.
Welcome to the Expect Success Podcast, a presentation of GeorgeBollock.com with your host, George Bollock. This podcast is for all things personal development. Don't expect success, prepare for it. Please welcome your host, George Bollock.
Welcome to Expect Success at GeorgeBollock.com. Now, in addition to listening to our podcast, you can also view the video format on YouTube at GeorgeTube.com. Have you ever heard of Michael Wickett? Well, if you said no, you won't be able to say that tomorrow because Michael Wickett is one of America's best kept secrets. He's the author of numerous commercially produced and corporate training programs and was named the best motivational speaker in America, along with Zig Ziglar, by the Vice President of Nightingale-Conant. His credentials are many, including a clients list that reads like the who's who in American business. Michael Wickett is best known for his enthusiasm, motivational style, and original humor. Now today Michael is going to talk about the keys to a better life. Listen to Michael.
Now, it is not always easy to access all that brain power. Because what happens is we get conditioned by life as children, and then we grow up, and we get conditioned to expectations. Now, people that really want to do great things with their life, they find out how to access their brain cells. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So wherever you are in your life, if you want different outcomes, you have to be different. I'll say that one more time. The mind doesn't always get that. If you want different outcomes, you have to be different, meaning you have to think differently and especially feel and expect. Expectation is the single most powerful thing in life. Some would call it belief. So if you want your business to be different, or your relationships, or your health, whatever it is, you have to create a different vision, and then you have to begin to expect something different to happen. You've got to be at peace with your past. If you're not at peace with your past, it runs your life. It's like the weak link in a chain. It doesn't matter how strong the chain is. So if anybody here has not gotten over your past, and that could have been losing a job, being treated unfairly by a boss, it could have been your childhood, you've got to let it go and bless it. Because the past is what, everybody? It is gone. It is not coming back. How many of you ever lost a big deal that was so important to you? I lost 2 in the last year. But you see, that can derail people. They can be afraid of failure. It's not failure. It's a learning experience. So everybody take a deep breath. Whatever past you've had, whatever they did or didn't do, whatever really hurt you and felt like a horrible disappointment, beginning today, let it go. And bless it. And bless it for the lesson. If you've come in here today with past issues...
He's not too technical. He's, everyday guy, and I like that about him.
Informative, practical, something that I think everybody can take something home with.
I think he speaks from the heart, and that's the most important thing. I think that really comes through.
15-year-old boy John Goddard was a Boy Scout, was in his bedroom one day, and his father's best friend was visiting his dad, John Sr. And he heard his dad, on a rainy Sunday afternoon in the 40s, he heard his dad's best friend say, John, if I had my life to live over again, there's so many things I would have done differently. And his dad said, like what? And he started naming those things. The guy's like 50, 60 and saying, I wish I could live my life over. Well, 15-year-old John Goddard heard that and thought, I don't want that to be me. Well, he grabbed a pad and he wrote, my life's dreams. He started writing. He wrote for days and days and days and days. And 15-year-old John Goddard came up with 127 life goals. Visit every country in the world, run a 5-minute mile, do 100 push-ups, climb 14 major mountains in the world, beginning with Everest, explore 22 major rivers, light a match with a 22, milk a rattlesnake, read every word in the Bible, teach a class on the Bible, be happily married, raise kids, 127 goals all over the map. Learn 3 languages, and 27 years later, at the age of 42, John Goddard had accomplished 108 of the 127 goals he wrote down. He was on the cover of Life magazine, I believe it was 1972, and the feature story, the cover said, "One man's life of no regrets." John Goddard never had a midlife crisis. How many of you know someone, not yourself, but how many of you know someone who's having a midlife crisis? They don't have any goals. They don't have any motivation. They don't have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And people cannot create that for us. Your spouse can't create that for you. Your parents, your boss, people can't create that.
I think he's very good. I've heard him before.
It kept me interested and really made me want to participate.
I liked it. It was great.
He is very down to earth and he comes from the heart. He speaks a lot about personal experience.
It was wonderful.
When you have a challenge or a difficulty, if you want a positive solution, ask a positive question. It's brilliant, as simple as it sounds. The mind responds to the input you give it. So let's suppose you have a difficulty. How many of you have a challenge in your life? And you know the answer is not always obvious. A lot of times we don't know how we created it, and a lot of times we don't know how to get out of it. I understand. But our subconscious mind, given direction, will find a solution.
That's awesome. For more from Michael Wickett, simply search YouTube. And you can also find him on LinkedIn.com. Michael's famous audio, The Power of Perseverance, can be found at Nightingale-Conant and Amazon.com. And I'll be sure to leave a link in the show notes. And remember, as the late great Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Today you've been hanging out with Michael Wickett. Keep up the momentum. Subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss another episode. We'll catch you on the next show. And thanks a million for listening. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Expect Success Podcast with your host, George Bolling. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please rate, subscribe, and review. And find more great content online at georgebolling.com and on Facebook and Twitter at George Bolling. We'll catch you next time. And remember, don't just expect success, prepare for it.